Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley.
And today we are joined by spiritual leader and CEO of Masters of Self University, Rachel Fiori, mystical MSU life coaches, Roger, Adrienne, and Alejandro. Give it up, everybody. This is our first ever coaches panel. So, Rachel, I'm handing the baton over to you. Let's get it started.
Hello, everybody. Hello, beautiful listeners. So our topic for today is what it means to be divine masculine protector. We want to talk about divine masculine manifested in our magnificent men on this planet and what it really means to be the protector. I think it's something that is incredibly mistaught, even more misunderstood. And we want to clear things up, clean things up. So men who are evolving and becoming more highly conscious, they're becoming more healed, more whole, which means they are stepping into their divinity as a human and then as a man. We really want to clear up what it means to be the divine protector. And there are three main ways that men are in their divine masculine energy as a divine protector. And that's physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And we're going to break each one of these down and talk about what they mean and really dissect what they don't mean, of course, all the negative nonsense that's spewed out there. We want to clarify, and then we want to elevate to understanding so that men can truly achieve their full divinity, the full expression of their divine masculine while they're here. So the first one is the physical protector. Let's not misunderstand that what it means to be a physical protector always means that a woman needs a man's protection. This is usually where women get triggered. Okay, so I'm going to start there. Where women, listen, you can be as physically strong, fit, muscular, you can do combat work, you can do whatever kind of training, whatever kind of martial arts, you could be in the military, you could be a highly skilled black belt in whatever, right? And you could be really strong and really incredible. And that's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Here is the truth. When it comes to strength, strength is a masculine characteristic, even if it is expressed through a woman. Remember, we're both. We are masculine and we are feminine. Every human, male or female, has masculine and feminine characteristics. Remember that. So the stronger you are, you're expressing more of that divine masculine energy through you. Beautiful, wonderful. Bottom line, no matter how physically fit or strong or muscular or capable you are as a woman, men are built bigger and stronger for a reason. Look around at any ethnicity. The females in that race or that ethnicity are always smaller than the males. There is a reason for that. Okay. They are meant to be physically stronger. We're going to dive into the divine definition of that in a minute, but they're meant to be physically stronger. So the strongest, most muscular, impressive, magnificent woman on the planet that exists, the strongest woman on the planet will still never be stronger than the strongest man on the planet. Let's get real. We as women, this is going to be triggering. It isn't true to say we can do absolutely every single thing a man can do, just like it's not true to say men can do every single thing a woman can do, because no, they can't. And no, we can't. We're not meant to. And that never, ever, ever means get out of your egoic, dualistic, crazy minds. Get out of your egoic minds that you automatically create duality. Well, that makes women inferior, or that makes men, and quit it. There's no such thing as a weaker sex. It's physically, men are built physically stronger, and there's a divine reason for that. Women have divine power, men have strength, masculine strength, feminine power. So let's dive in to what this really looks like and how it manifests and why men are supposed to be physically stronger, generally speaking. Like, as a divine protector, there is a real authentic divine reason for men to be built bigger and stronger, generally speaking, compared to women, and why they are softer, why they are physically weaker compared to men, generally speaking. So let's open it up and dive in. Let's talk about this beautiful panel.
Well, no one's going first, so I guess that's me. For sure, I've really experienced this whole idea of being the protector and being the provider, and especially recently, the provider program of being masculine has really come up for me. Ellie's moved out to Colorado with me, and we're about to set voyage and move out to San Diego, and we're doing it in this van that I've bought, and I'm putting it together. And I've noticed in the last couple of weeks this pressure that I'm really putting on myself of like, I have to create this home for her, I have to provide for her, and that if I'm not, I'm a failure. And the more and more I sink into it, I'm like, where did this start? Where did I adopt this from? And I can just feel it's every movie I've watched, it's all of society, it's all of the things I've heard in the pub growing up as a young man of like, oh, this is how men are, and we have to be like this and provide. But it's all this financial thing, way of looking at it. And then I as I'm going through this, I'm thinking back to your book and the way of equality, and I'm like, well, if men and women are equal, why am I creating these expectations for me to have to provide financially? And I know you haven't covered finance yet, but for me, that's really where I've seen this starting to really come into play.
Beautiful. Let's touch on that. Let's dive into that a little bit. So we want to remember that women, no such thing as equality in our world when it comes to women. It hasn't been for thousands of years. Women were not allowed to work. Men had to be the provider. And women were also viewed as incapable, that they weren't capable of being providers. So let's get clear. In your individual household, in your home, in your marriage, in your partnership, you may have one person who actually is the main, and maybe even only, the financial provider of that household. You may have that. That might be what actually works really well for your partnership, for your household. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In my household, I'm the main provider. I provide financially. I'm the one that makes all the damn money. It's like, and that is okay. The reason why that's okay is because my partner steps up in these other incredible ways that is super supportive, that allows me, because of his support and doing other things, it allows me to create this incredible corporation and live my dream and my soul's mission and what I'm here to do. It is perfect for our situation. And I happen to be the breadwinner. He doesn't make as much as I do. It's not like he makes nothing. He doesn't make as much as I do, right? In our situation, that is perfect for us. In other scenarios, male or female makes no difference. If that works for your household, then that's perfect. One of you may be the financial provider, but we have to get away from the sexist roots in this, that like women can't be, and that they're incapable, or that they shouldn't be, or they shouldn't be allowed to be. That's where we screw up, and where we label divine masculine as provider. Oh, no, no, no. Toxic masculine created the financial provider. That is a toxic masculine trait, to assume that it must be the man and only the man. Again, in your household, it might be the man is the main financial provider. And if that's what works for your family, that is perfect.
And for me, it wasn't just the fact. I had this conscious awareness that, I don't need to be the provider. but it didn't matter because there was this underlying program which had already been written. So it's this interesting experience that I was going through where I have my own beliefs of like, yeah, it doesn't matter who's the breadwinner, and it doesn't matter if I'm like, if we're both contributing to whatever, that really doesn't matter. But underneath that was all this programming that I've, soaked up as a child of how I'm expected to be. And then those expectations that I was setting for myself were then causing this internal resistance. And then obviously what happens when we have that internal resistance and this internal struggle, then we end up projecting it outward or not bringing love into the container of our relationship, which is what's happening. So I've really been working hard on having to just go back and love this part of me and know that it's okay. I don't need to be this sole provider. It can be either way, but really understanding that there's an underlying program rather than just my own beliefs of what's happening.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And for me, in Korean culture, me being Korean, women are still, there's no respect when it comes to women. And so I grew up with my mother who's been home, but did she want a career? Absolutely. Did she want to flourish and be all of these things? Absolutely. But I don't think she was ever given that chance to really be a provider alongside with my dad. It was like from the get-go, it's like, you have babies, you cook, you stay home and you raise them. And so for me, that's all I've witnessed my entire life is like, well, the woman stays home. And so a program that I run with Danny is I find myself having accomplishments or things that are happening for me, but dimming myself and making myself so small so that I don't affect him in his masculinity. So it's like this program where like I've been conditioned and imprinted to stay small and be small so that the man can be in his like mighty place and he doesn't feel like he's less than me or like he's not accomplishing more than me or whatever, all these things. And he called me out on it. And actually I brought it up and we had a conversation about it. And I realized, oh, this man is a safe space for me to bring anything. He doesn't want me to dim my light. That's just a program that I run where women have to be smaller than men, that we can't make more money than them, that we can't be more successful or whatever it may be. And so having this safe container where I can bring that brought us closer together because he's already healing the programs that keep him in this place of believing that he needs to be the provider, which is helping me also to see that I run these programs that are making myself smaller.
Magnificent. That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, so I want to add to the goodness. So me growing up, we were poor. Like we grew up on the earth, and if we needed something, we would go and pick it off the trees, right, or harvest it ourselves. And so I grew up in a very strict religion and poor. And so I learned from a very young age to step into my masculine and to provide for myself. So I started working from a very young age. If I wanted the money, I wanted something, I had to buy it for me. Fast forward to today, my beautiful partner, Roger, just recently lost his job and was laid off. And that has brought up a lot of beautiful emotions for the both of us, I believe. And we've been able to work through a lot of them. I still think that there's some crumbs that come up from time to time, and that's okay. But I've been able to, up to this point, because he's been the main provider of our home. And so as he's looking for a job and creating these beautiful opportunities on the side at this point, I get to step into my masculine once again and start providing for our family. And it was scary for me because I haven't had to for so long. And so being able to step up has been really challenging me and pushing me into some very uncomfortable emotions and positions and mental thoughts and everything, you name it, it's been brought up. And so I'm just really grateful for being able to have this beautiful set of skills to be able to move through what we've moved through so beautifully, effortlessly, and gracefully, like we have this time. If we didn't, I'm pretty sure we would still not be talking to each other 2 months later. So, so yeah,
That's
thank
beautiful.
you. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I will dovetail off of my lovely beloved's, feedback there. It's been a very unhealthy relationship with finances and money for me for a very long time. That's how I solved all of my issues. That's how I solved wounds or challenges with any relationship that I've had up until 5, 6, 7 years ago. More recently, probably 2 or 3 years ago. If I ran into an issue, it was like, okay, well, I'll solve it with money. And if I ran into another issue as a young kid, I'll go steal the money from my mom to solve this issue, and then I'll circle back and solve this one at a later date, or lie, or do whatever I needed to do to like further perpetuate this system or further perpetuate this energy. And moving recently, and yeah, being laid off about 3 weeks ago was it sucked. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I knew it was coming. It's not a capability or a talent thing. But yeah, it's the first time I've been without like a steady job since I was probably like 17 or 18. So really navigating, like the provider aspect, like the failure, going back to what like Danny was talking about, like, did I fail? Like, am I not going to be able to put food on the table? Am I not going to be able to keep a roof over our head? It's like all this stuff bubbled up, and my previous wounded, self would have just holed up in my office. I would have disengaged. I would have disassociated. I wouldn't have communicated with Adrienne how I was feeling, even to pieces where stuff would come up, and just communicate with her like, hey, this has nothing to do with you right now. I'm moving through some shit and I need a little bit of space and process. Whereas before I would just vomit all this stuff onto her. Like, regardless of where she was at, I wouldn't ask permission. I wouldn't see if she was open. Where she was at in her day, it was just like, bleh, and now it's very sacred. Like being able to, and it's not perfect, but being able to, going expand space and provide a non-judgmental, harmless, gentle space for her to experience whatever range of emotion presents itself. There's no wrong. There's no right. Like men, like oftentimes it has nothing to do with you. It's just something that they need to express in whatever way that they are inclined to express it. And when we can sit and expand space and see everything as it is and allow that feminine to come out, that power, and we can sit there in a sacred masculine strength and not defend, not deflect, not gaslight, not do all these things that we're programmed to do. It's powerful. It's powerful to witness, and there are times like I'll run a program like, fuck, like, am I capable of doing these things? But when you have an opportunity and, when this happened, Adrienne presented just such a beautiful opportunity for me to do that. It meant the world to me that I was able to do that for her and for me at the same time. And like Rachel, these skill sets and the tools, like the toolkit that we have it's cosmic, and without it, we probably would have been like silent treatment, door slamming and like, and guffaws and, like, oh, I made dinner, it's in the fridge, but, or, like low key passive aggressive crap and, sleeping downstairs and like all the stuff we used to do. So it's magical. So yeah,
it's magical to listen to that. That is absolutely magnificent. And Roger actually segued right into the next divine masculine protector characteristic that qualifies men in their divine masculinity as protectors. He already touched on it, and that's the emotional protector. That does not mean women need your protection emotionally. They need you to process. That's all feminine energy does that. Feminine energy alchemizes. The divine feminine power of alchemy is what transforms pain and darkness. But the us functioning in oneness that Roger so beautifully shared is that the divine masculine protector on an emotional level becomes the safety, the safe spaciousness for the feminine to move through, whether it's for herself or whether it's for you or for someone else. It's the spaciousness, the safety in that space where she can express, she can heal, she can alchemize, she can process. The power of feminine, the power of woman is if you two are going through something together, and Roger and Adrienne shared a beautiful example of what they're going through right now. If they are together in the same room and Roger shifts into divine masculine protector, emotional protector, he is now just energetically this magnificent safe space. And what that allows and encourages Adrienne to do in their oneness, this is oneness consciousness. It allows Adrienne to actually alchemize and process, not just for herself. She will actually alchemize and process a lot of his pain and what he's going through, just because that is what feminine power does. But how in oneness that functions and works together is Roger has to be in that divine masculine of safety. When he energetically is that, then Adrienne actually can heal and alchemize all of her stuff and a lot of his. And then there's only a little bit left for Roger to actually heal. Like that's how it works in oneness when we talk about divine masculine in oneness with divine feminine, but specifically about the emotional protector.
All right, I got some things to say on that. Okay, I also might cry, so here we go. Whew, okay. I am entering this partnership with Danny. I think at first we always talk about passing the baton to each other. And in the beginning of the relationship, it was very much a lot of his fears, and I was holding down the fort. And there was a time where we separated, and then when we came back together, it was my turn to pass the baton. And being with him in this physical space and seeing him every day, oh my God, it has completely shined a light to all of the blind spots and all of the things that I'm very reluctant and resistant to see because the pain is really painful. And I've done a really amazing job. I'm a professional suppressor if anybody wants to hire me, but I've been suppressing the emotions that I have felt since I was a child for so long that this man has come into my life, and the more that he heals, the more he creates this space for me to feel really safe. And what I've discovered is that I have had a very closed heart for a very long time. And I've thought that I was very open. I was like, I'm the most open soul in the world. And in fact, I was the opposite. And discovering a closed heart, as you can imagine, was mind-blowing for me because it made me see that everything that I've been putting on has been a facade and a show for me to protect myself, for me to keep myself safe. And yesterday, I was really triggered because this whole situation of moving into this place and going into a van with him and making these travels to the West Coast has shaken everything I've ever known about stability and security within myself and in my external. And being in this space just triggers me so much. And yesterday, we were moving from storage to the van to the car, and there was all this chaos. And I was feeling all these things and the fact that we're also relying on his best friend's place to shower and all these things. And I got into this car and this huge metal thing we had in the car just slammed into my ear. And as soon as that happened, I could hear the universe saying, feel what you're feeling. And in that moment, he stopped everything and he turned the car off and he looked at me. He goes, just cry, just feel. And I could feel the little girl in me saying like, no, it's not safe for me to feel. It's not safe for me to talk about what's going on within me. And he just held the space and he just held me. And I just cried and I cried. And I could feel the resistance. And I was like, just open, Ellie, because this place of closeness literally keeps me in a cave, in just a cave of sadness. And he just let me open. And all of a sudden, all of these memories of why I'm being triggered, what's causing this, all started to come up. And he looked at me and he's like, what do you need from me right now? It's like, all I need, because you've provided this space for me to feel so safe, for me to be able to open my heart. I can go in now to all of this pain and I can spend time in my heart. And it was only because the way that he sees me, the way that he loves me, and the only way that he can do that is because of how much he does that for himself. And in that space, I can heal. Because for the first time in my life, I feel like someone is letting me feel and be and everything that I am, how messy it is, how hard it is, how painful it is. He's allowing me to be all of that. And he kept telling me, opening is powerful. Being vulnerable is powerful. You hiding and you sulking and just closing, that's weakness. And no one's ever said that to me. And being with someone that I feel so secure with allows me to heal. And I can feel myself changing. I can feel myself coming home. And that's when I truly understood, oh, that's the divine masculine.
Whoo! Yes. Oh, that's magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. And for me, you know, I've had a crash course over this last month on what it really means to be in my masculine. And from what I've learned is I've just got to create this stable strength, unwavering, emotional state of being. Because as the feminine moves in her flowy waves, I have to hold down this fort for us to maintain balance and create some kind of equilibrium for us to move through life with some effort of grace and flow. And it's a constant thing, and I'm daily challenged by it. But I've really learned what it means to create spaciousness and really be able to honor someone's pain. And with Ellie, I always feel this, I can feel her pain and I see it, but I know because of her program, she's not able to see it yet. And my role as the divine masculine is not to react to that, not to go into victimhood or attack mode or whatever it is. I have to just honor her of where she's at, provide the space, and keep asking her, what is it that you're feeling right now? And allow her to open in her own time, in her own capacity and from her own willingness. Because what I've learned is forcing someone to open never ends in opening. It's only when you become the spaciousness and then you give that person the opportunity to step into that and be like, okay, I'm ready to feel my pain. I'm ready to see my pain. Can they actually heal it and alchemize it? Because I've tried it the other way and it doesn't work. And that's obviously the forceful, toxic masculine or wounded masculine that we see. And really the divine part of me has to just honor her for where she's at, create this space, and allow me to remain stable in that. And yeah, I'm not perfect. I fall from grace. I think this morning it happened a little bit. I run the programs of frustration, and then I have to acknowledge where I'm at, be that anchor, and then be like, no, like this isn't what she needs. She needs you to show up in a more elevated way right now. Because if I'm in my woundedness, if I'm in running programs, then she's going to too. And what kind of leader am I being if I'm just doing the same thing and then it just turns into this cosmic shitstorm of programs and wounds cycling around? So it's really been a really wonderful lesson, a crash course into what it means to hold this stable strength and allow her to, when she's ready to heal, to come into that space and really open herself.
Magnificent. Just to reiterate, divine masculine is strength, stability, and safety. And that is, the protector is in that. When you are stability and safety for everyone around you, no matter who they are, a child, a female, a partner, a friend, when you are strength, stability, and safety, that automatically makes you a divine protector of that person, for that person, on behalf of that person. That's the most magnificent gift any man in his true divine masculine energy could offer to another human being, period, end. And you do that in a sacred way that no woman can do that in the same way. That is one of the gifts that you bring to this planet, manifested as an extension of the creator, that of all that is. She created you in order to express the power that she has to be strength, stability, and safety for others. That is a divine masculine quality. That's where you're going to see it the highest, most elevated way you'll see that is in a really elevated divine masculine man. And there isn't a woman on the planet being 100% in balance with everything. What you'll see more often than not, enlightened men are going to show that characteristic better than anybody else. It doesn't mean women aren't capable of that, but that's a divine masculine trait. So who better to show a divine masculine trait than elevated, highly conscious men? Hello. Just like sacred feminine traits are, who better to show them and teach them and express them are women, right? We're here in oneness to show these things manifested through us as men and women. So it's just magnificent that you're really elevating into that role, Danny, and anybody else listening to this. I hope you'll go back and re-listen to what has been shared so far, especially when Roger shared and when Danny shared, because the most priceless gift you can give to anyone is that strength, that stability, and that safety for them to express and be who they divinely are, whoever they are. That is just, you are in your divinity when you can do that.
I'd love to just add on one last thing to that, because what I felt a lot in Ellie, and she mentioned this, is this whole idea that if I don't share, I'm strong. If I keep this face, if I don't show emotion, if I say I'm fine, then that's strength. And I've seen this so much, and I've been there myself. It takes true strength to be able to go into your pain, to be able to be vulnerable, to do what Ellie just did and completely expose herself and express herself. That to me is true strength. And any part of us that wants to stay small and just wants to keep everything's fine, to me, that's weakness, because you're not honoring your pain. And it's only when we truly honor our pain that we really find out the strength that we are.
That's beautiful. And I want to go deeper into that, because there is a reason for that. Women have been oppressed for so damn long that it was unsafe for them to express and to share. Why was it unsafe? Men were not in their divine masculine. They were in their toxic masculine. That's why. There was no safety to express, to share, to be me and my divinity. There's no safety there. Men have been in toxic masculine for so many centuries, and the most well-intended man grows up in our toxic patriarchal society, and he learns toxic traits, even if he would never in his life want to harm a fly. Like, let's get real here, that there is a reason we've been raised by such a low level of consciousness, men and women both, that men don't know how to be in their divine masculine nature of safety, which means if you can't be in your divine masculine of strength, of safety and stability for yourself and for others, that means no way can women do what they're here to do, which is heal everybody on the planet, because that comes from feminine, right? So what happens is we then suppress because we're forced to. We repress because we're fucking forced to. We're oppressed. We have to do that to survive, to not be attacked, to not be verbally attacked, physically attacked, to not be harmed. Why? Because divine masculine means harmlessness and gentleness. So I'm going to mention this and I'm going to open it up for you guys. One of the ways of oneness is harmlessness and gentleness. Of the universal ways of oneness, oneness consciousness, way number 8 of the 20 ways is harmlessness and gentleness. And that is a predominantly masculine characteristic. Why? Because men are born with the strength, and what helps them if they remain in their divinity to not use that strength to turn it into force, abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, for them to not turn toxic. What helps to balance them in their strength, this big, strong man, bigger than me, is harmlessness and gentleness. That's why harmlessness and gentleness, that's not a feminine characteristic. It is a masculine characteristic because it's meant to balance the man in his strength so he remains with his strength in his divinity. Women who are physically weaker, generally speaking, than men have pure raw power in a way that a man doesn't have. Why? Because although I might be physically weaker, I also have a divine power that man doesn't have. That balances me out as an individual, as a woman, and it also balances us together and creates oneness between the two of us. You benefit from my power when we are in oneness, and I benefit from your strength when we are in oneness. That's what makes us one in human manifested form. Everybody's just speechless. The silence.
No, it's that was really fascinating what you brought up there, and it kind of illuminated something, as a young girl, women are born with this nurture, this care, like it's innate in the DNA of a woman, like to go out and care for, nurture, heal, create. In a man, it's innate for us to have the strength, physical, whether it's sports, all these athletics, different things from that perspective. So like on the journey to discovery of harmlessness and gentleness, like we have to go out and seek that on a journey of discovery in that. It's not innately in us. And for a woman, it's going out and expressing her power. That's not like an innate quality due to, the talks like patriarchy, things like that. It's been taught to suppress, to be small, to be weak. So the opposite of is this journey of nurture, of finding your power, speaking to that power. And for men, it's almost like it's here, and then it's just to find that equilibrium. And as a man and a woman can energetically come together in that harmlessness and gentleness versus power, force, and the woman can come in with a divine speaking of her power, expression of her power. That's like it's an interesting journey from like what we're innately born with to what we're taught, to coming back to that balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if that makes any, I don't know if I'm rambling or anything like that, but.
No, it's fantastic. It is. Men need to learn to shift from force and aggression to the harmlessness and gentleness that is their divinely innate self. But we've been conditioned to be everything but our divinity. Just like you said, it's perfect. And it's the opposite for women. Women have been taught to just play really small and make themselves really weak when they're actually the divine power. So they have to learn how to step into their full power. Simultaneously, men learn how to step into their divinity as protectors, which means safety and stability. They are the stable, safety, consistent energy that allows feminine to do what she does best. And remember, one of the things that feminine energy is and does is she is the one that transforms pain and darkness and unhealed shit. You can't be a consistent, never fluctuating energy when you are that. You have to be able to be all over the place, because people's wounds energetically are all over the place. Their programs are all over the place. They're all different vibrational frequencies. It's chaos. So this sexist bullshit that teaches that feminine is chaos is so fucking far from the truth. She's pure raw power. What's chaotic are our fucked up toxic programs that she has the divine ability to ebb and flow with, to meet you where you are in order to guide you back home, to alchemize that ugly, chaotic shit. Our egos, our programs, our wounds are what's chaotic, not the fucking feminine. She's pure raw power. She's the one that removes the chaos from you, your unhealed self. We have to start to learn these things from a place of goddamn truth, instead of the bullshit that's still spewed out there by people saying things that are so systemically sexist. The feminine is chaos. You're a fucking sexist pig when you say that. You're also filled with nothing but ignorance, and you're spewing lies. That's not even fucking remotely close to the truth. She's pure raw power. Your unhealed shit is what's chaotic. And she has the power and the ability to go and meet you where you are, where your chaos is. And she can alchemize that and bring you home to your divine self. You don't call her fucking chaotic. Let's get real. You call yourself and your programs and your unhealed wounds. Your toxicity is what's chaotic. She's the one that purifies your toxic shit. She's not chaotic. She's pure. You see it. And when we realize that's the truth, it allows women to step into their divinity in every way, and it allows men to step in their divinity in every way, in every damn way. And that's what we're all being called to do. So let's do it. Let's just do
it. Thank you for that. It's so powerful. What was coming up for me is, again, I'm Korean, so this is what I know. But I am the first child of 3 kids. And I came out really sensitive and emotional and all these things. And because I was never allowed to express myself, I started repressing. And then my brother was born. And then my brother was like the golden child, you know, like as soon as he was born, it was like happiness was flowing, you know, it was like he was number one, he was everything and all of these things. But the ironic part about that was that he was actually very sensitive as well. And then he was completely asked to shut everything down emotionally. So my point in saying all of this is, you know, women are just really thrown to the side. And so what I'm seeing in myself is because I was not allowed in my culture and also in my upbringing to feel at all, now that I'm opening myself up and feeling all of that, I can feel the power underneath all of it. But now that I know that I have that within me and I'm allowed to begin to heal, it really brings me back to the reason why so many of us women are closed in the first place. And then also why we attract men that are equal to that. And so it's all making sense to me now that closed hearts break. Open hearts can never break. You always say that. And it's literally because that's all we've been asked to do is like, just shut up. Just do this. Be that small. Don't feel into that. And now it's like, now that I understand the sacred feminine, now I understand the healers within us, the powers that we have. It makes me so excited to go into my pain because I know underneath the pain is exactly what I'm here to do alongside all the other women.
Yeah, I want to add to that as well is when I am in the middle of processing my own emotions and going through that heightened state of emotion when you're really, you know, at that place where you're maybe ugly crying or whatever that might look like. For me, is usually ugly crying. But what I've come to understand through this beautiful teachings is that masculine energy is there to provide the non-judgment and the non-ego, no matter how ugly it might look. And that for me, that teaching, I still remember the class, Rachel, that teaching for me was like, it gave me the permission to act in whatever way during that moment of, it allowed me to not have to censor myself. And that was really beautiful. And not that I'm like this big dramatic, throwing things, but yeah, like give me a box of tissues and I'm going to empty it in one foul swoop because I am going to ugly cry. I like to call it fugly crying. And so to be able to have that access to balance that so beautifully at the moment that we are going in with that divine feminine and piercing through that shadow and that darkness, and knowing that no matter what it looks like, we have the power to still even move through that. And so that's what I wanted to add to what Ellie had to say. And that was, again, my whole point is just that moment of learning and having that freedom to express in whatever way needed to be expressed, and that it was okay. There was no judgment. There was no ego involved in any of it. And having that ability to know that it was okay was really, really, it filled my heart and gave me permission to do what needed to be done in order to heal, no matter what that looked like. So that was really valuable for me.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
And just to piggyback off of you again, Adrienne, I really thought that every time an emotion would come up, I thought this is truly what I thought. I thought not sharing was, I'm tough. Like I'm a strong woman. So you don't need to see what I'm feeling at all. So I would say things like, do what you gotta do. Or I'm good. I'm fine. And it's like, no, baby. There is so much underneath that all I was doing was trying to keep that here so that I could appear like I'm a very strong woman. I was a little scared girl. And now I'm turning back into the strong woman that I really am, which requires me to let it all to share. And when you have that space to do that, I mean, what comes out of me surprises me because of the safety zone.
Magnificent. Beautiful.
Something that comes up for me is I'm going on 1 year anniversary with my sister moving in up here with me up North California, and 1 year anniversary of being a part of Masters of Self. And 1 year ago, when my sister first moved in here, and we would have some triggers or things would arise, there'd be times where my sister would spend days in her room and she wouldn't come out to talk about things, and I would be frustrated as to why is she talking about these things. And I think Danny mentioned earlier, like trying to force her to have these conversations. She's 19. She grew up around 4 older brothers, very toxic masculine environment. So fast forward to just a few days ago, where we were out and she was triggered, and I could see that she was triggered, and I just allowed her to be in her pain, whatever she was experiencing. I asked her if there was any way I could support her. She was just taking the space and thought nothing of it. I'm like, okay, that's all it is. And then yesterday, she takes the initiative to, hey, can I talk to you about something whenever you have a chance? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So she sits me down, we talk, and she acknowledges herself, what the experience that we had just a few days ago, the trigger. And she mentioned that she's just recently been going through some things within herself and that it had nothing to do with me. And she apologized for being so aggressive with me and taking things out onto me, and just very vulnerable and open to what it is that her experience has been. So I was just feeling really good about like, oh wow, this divine masculine thing is something that I'm beginning to provide safety for the people around me without really even noticing it. But it's amazing to see after 1 year the relationship that we have, and the love that we have, and the openness and the vulnerability, and her not even knowing about Masters of Self, but just by me embodying these new ways of being, it's impacting those around me.
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. He was silent this whole episode so far until then, and he was like, "I'm gonna come forward with a doozy, a beautiful, perfect example of real life, everyday practical application of this is the perfect example of that." Magnificent. Absolutely beautiful.
And what I think that shows the listeners at home, it's you don't need to be in a romantic partnership to be in the divine masculine. What Alejandro just shared is the brother-sister relationship, and that's another exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to dovetail off that, Ellie, as well, with the brother-sister relationship. I mean, even just a relationship with yourself. You know, acknowledging your own pain, acknowledging that conversation, the journey within you. You know, and you know, listening to Alejandro share that around himself and his sister. You know, when I first started to sit down with Adrienne and unpack 22 years of me not being emotionally present, you know, her begging and asking more emotionally from me. And I was just like, no, this is how I'm built. This is all you get. So I'm limiting her growth. I'm putting a ceiling on her growth because for her to keep the marriage or the relationship intact, she has to dim herself, lower herself, bring herself down to my level to sustain the relationship. How fucked up is that, men? That we put a ceiling on the growth of our partner because we are emotionally fragile and incapable of ascending. Like, let's get real. Let's have like a real conversation about it. And so there was a lot of stuff to unpack and unwind. And those conversations was like gale force winds. You know, and there was times that I was like, I don't know if I can fucking do this. Like, oh my, like, but when you know deep down, like where you can go with that one person, the one person that you know, just like is your soulmate because they trigger the fuck out of you. Like, that's how you know. Like, God damn it. Ow. When you just know. And there were just these times I'm like, is it gonna get lighter? Is there, holy shit, is there like a light at the end of the tunnel? Is there a sun, you know, that's gonna creep up through these clouds? And I can attest from personal experience that when you truly embody, and then again, it's not perfect. It's going to ebb and flow. You're going to struggle. You're going to have, but when, and in this case, Adrienne sees the effort of like really applying these tools, her openness and her expansiveness, and you get more of what you're trying to restrict, what you're trying to control, what you're trying to manipulate, men. So allow the feminine to run free in her wild, crazy, uninhibited ways. And when you can do that wholly and authentically, you will receive so much more. So much more. It is powerful.
And that right there hit me. Just crying from you being able to share that level of wisdom and you being that much in divine masculine and being able to offer that is just incredible and amazing. And I want to thank you for embracing your divine masculine because you are a gift to this world because you have. You are such a gift to all of us because you've done that.
Thank you very much. And it's been there's no coincidence the most powerful Taitas, teachers, and guides that I've had in this journey have been women. There's no coincidence at all. The first one being beautiful, beloved, Adrienne. Second one is a close friend of ours. Third, when Aid and I were just kind of like floundering, like, what's next? Like, where do we go next? Rachel and your teachings. So there's no coincidence that for me personally, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but for me, it's been powerful divine women, because I was so disconnected from it. I didn't know what the fuck feminine was. Feminine me got groceries. Made sure I had Michelina's frozen dinners ready to eat, or Little Caesars, or whatever. Or she had a wallet I could pilfer. That was feminine to me. That's not what it is. Like, when you get showered with like a little taste of that divine feminine nectar,
Whew.
Watch the fuck out, boys. Like, it's beyond words. Like, our English vocabulary can't ascribe a meaning or articulate a meaning to it. We're not that evolved at this stage of the game.
Beautiful truth. Beautiful. And Roger just completely, again, organically, naturally just went into the teaching of divine protector as spiritually, the spiritual. He described it in what he shared completely. The third way of what makes up divine masculine as a protector, divine protector, is that the example that he so beautifully expressed, which is, if I'm in my toxic masculine and I'm trying to keep her small, I'm holding her back from expressing and being able to grow and elevate and become her, step into her full power, which means I'm preventing both of us from growing, because it is that divine feminine power that elevates everybody, that brings everybody up. So that's the teaching of divine masculine protector spiritually. The physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects are all there. I'm going to share something briefly because this just happened the other day. I might as well share it. We're on the topic. The other day, my partner and I were at the gym, and we first get there and we're doing our warm-up thing, before working out. And I kind of see in my periphery, I caught the attention of a young girl and a young boy. They look like teenagers. And I noticed her pull her arm away and jerk away from him. And it caught my attention. So I looked over. You couldn't really tell what was going on, but he was completely over top of her, sitting way too close. And some teenagers, sometimes you're like, Jesus, learn, it's okay, public displays of affection, but Jesus Christ, the gym, they're making out the gym. So at first I thought it was that, these teenagers just being hi, you're in a public gym, fucking back off. Right. But no, I noticed there was an aggressive energy. And I noticed her jerk her hand away a couple times. And then I noticed she's just crying, and she has tissues and she's rubbing, and she's contracted really small, shrinking herself down. And I'm looking whoa, wait a minute. There's actually something happening right now. And he's towering over her. And then I noticed immediately, because I was like, oh no, my protector energy shot through me. And I'm like, do I need to do something? And then I noticed, oh, wait a minute. Okay. There were two men in that gym. And but one I noticed was standing just several feet away. And I noticed one, I didn't realize at first was connected to this, but had walked off. And when he came back, he brought staff members from the gym. And there were several women, and they came around this young girl, and they all, in this protective stance, they all surrounded her, helped her up, and circled around her and protected her and walked her off. And then the young boy just looked at them all and just walked very briskly out of the gym and left. Okay. And then my partner asked one of the men later, he's like, I'm not trying to intrude, but whatever was happening there, it seemed like you helped that girl. And I want to thank you for that. And, long story short, it's not a big, dramatic, horrible story, but here's what I want to get to. One of the men who stepped in, they were not aggressive. They didn't yell. They didn't do anything crazy. It was kind of a subdued situation, but it was a situation where something wasn't right. And you have somebody really scared and crying, and you have a guy trying to grab her phone and trying to grab her. So something's not right. They stepped in, they got help, and neither one of them, the one gentleman who went off to get help, but there was another one there who stayed there several feet away, but he stood there as a protector to make sure nothing was going to happen to her. And so fast forward, when my partner went and like thanked him, and he was like, my partner comes sometimes by herself, and it's just good to know that there are men who will keep her safe if I'm not here, and that you kept this young girl safe, and he's like, there's no place for that here. It's ridiculous. And I can tell you, unexpected, I never would have thought this, but the way that I felt after watching those two men, in a very subdued, gentle way, but they were protectors in that moment. I almost started bawling in the gym. And I can tell you, I don't walk around in anxiety and fear and any of that shit. I don't walk around that way. But I can tell you, it blew my mind the rest of the time that I was in that gym working out, how fucking relaxed and safe I felt. And I'm so used to walking around and feeling all the energies that I feel everywhere, that when I realized, oh my God, even just working out, I don't ever really feel safe as a woman, even here. And those two men doing what they did, all of that released. And I felt so relaxed and so safe in a way that I never feel. And I couldn't believe the rest of my workout, how safe I felt. And that is divine masculine safety. That is divine masculine protector, where I'm not even involved in a damn situation. But the effect of that divinity of those two men allowed me to feel calmer, more relaxed, and safer just at the gym, for crying out loud. That's the effect that divine masculinity has when they're truly in their divine protector role.
Beautiful. And I can only relate to that. I, like you too, I never feel safe anywhere. And understanding now and experiencing that with Danny, I truly understand if I could feel like this and you can feel like that, how can the world change, and how can women feel when men begin to heal and provide that safety? Like, that is humanity, the evolution of humanity completely. Yes. Because that's not the world that we were raised in and born in, and not in the world we live in right now. But seeing Roger, Alejandro, Danny shift in these ways. And, I think the beautiful thing about these three males is you guys are actually show very different males. Danny is masculine, but also very in his feminine. I feel like Alejandro, you're in the middle, and Roger's like this super masculine dude. And to see how you provide that for women, this is the beginning of change. This is how we evolve. This is where we're headed to. And if there's anybody at home that's like, I want to experience that. Well, the more we work on ourselves, the more change and light comes out of us. This is how we affect the world.
Absolutely. Beautiful. And that is it. This was a long one. I think we could do probably 2 more hours on this topic alone. It's such a beautiful topic. Thank you all for being here, sharing this space together, you beautiful souls. For everybody out there, smash that like button. Give us some love out here. Give us some love.
Yes. Subscribe, share. And thank you so much for all being here. And to everybody listening to the podcast, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for your wisdom, Rachel. And until next time, we will see you guys then. Bye.